The Zephyrian cruiser Vexithara cut through the void like a predator stalking wounded prey. In its detention bay, Captain Sarah Chen sat in her energy cage, watching the alien crew celebrate their latest victory through the translucent barrier. Her uniform bore the scorch marks of the battle that had cost her ship and crew, but her dark eyes remained sharp, calculating. The Zephyrians had made their first mistake by keeping her alive. The human female will fetch a good price at the slave. Markets of Proxima 7th, Commander Zektar hissed to his subordinate, his serpentine features twisted in satisfaction. Her species' reputation for endurance makes them valuable laborers. Sarah said nothing, but her fingers traced patterns against her thigh, muscle memory from years of tactical training. She was mapping the ship's layout from the conversations she'd overheard, the vibrations through the hull, the subtle changes in artificial gravity when they maneuvered. Every detail filed away for later use. Her second advantage revealed itself 3 days into her captivity when the ship's communications officer collapsed at his station. The Zephyrians, for all their technological superiority, had overlooked a crucial detail about human physiology. They were immune to the Thetis virus that was now spreading through their crew, a pathogen their own bioweapons had inadvertently created. "You need my help," Sarah said when Zektar arrived at her cell. His usually pristine scales dulled with fever. "A human cannot operate our systems," he wheezed, but uncertainty flickered in his amber eyes. "Your communications array is based on quantum entanglement principles," Sarah replied calmly. "I helped design similar systems for the Terran defense. Force. Fix me to a neural interface, and I can keep your ship running while your crew recovers." It was a calculated risk. The Zephyrians were proud, but they weren't stupid. A dead crew couldn't collect bounties, and their ship was already drifting toward the dangerous currents of the Maelstrom Nebula. Zektar's desperation won out over his pride. The neural interface crown felt cold against Sarah's temples as the Zephyrian technicians activated it. The ship's systems flooded her consciousness. Weapon arrays, navigation, life support, communications. She kept her expression neutral as the full scope of the Vexthara's capabilities revealed themselves to her. The ship was a marvel of engineering, mounting plasma cannons that could vaporize a small moon and equipped with stealth generators that bent light around its hull. But like all advanced technology, it had vulnerabilities that only someone who understood its principles could exploit. "The communications array is stabilized," Sarah reported after an hour of work. "I've also optimized your power distribution and corrected a minor navigation drift." Zektar nodded weakly. "Continue monitoring all systems. Any betrayal will result in immediate execution." Sarah smiled thinly. "Of course, Commander." Over the following days, she became indispensable. The virus had claimed half the crew, and the survivors were too weak to perform complex operations. Sarah guided them through repairs, managed their course corrections, and even helped coordinate their attacks on passing merchant vessels. Each act of cooperation earned her more trust and greater access to the ship's systems. The Zephyrians never noticed the subtle changes she was making. A micro delay in the weapon targeting systems here. A slight modification to the power coupling efficiency there. Small adjustments that would pass any casual inspection, but would cascade into catastrophic failure at precisely the right moment. That moment came when they encountered the Terran convoy. 12 cargo vessels and 3 escorts, the tactical officer reported. Easy prey. Sarah's heart clenched as she recognized the ships. Refugees from the outer colonies, fleeing the Zephyrian advance. Families with children, elderly civilians. The wounded from a dozen conquered worlds. She thought of her own crew, vaporized when their ship's reactor overloaded under enemy fire. "Target the escorts first," Zektar commanded, his strength partially returned. "Disable their engines, then board the cargo ships." Sarah's fingers danced across the neural interface. "Weapons online, Commander. Targeting solutions locked. The day." Vexthara surged forward, its stealth field shimmering as it prepared to strike. In the neural link, Sarah felt the ship's predatory satisfaction, its eagerness for the hunt. "Fire!" Zektar commanded. Sarah smiled coldly and executed the commands she'd been preparing for days. Instead of targeting the human convoy, the Vextharas, weapons swiveled to face the Zephyrian fleet's own support vessels trailing behind them. The cascade failures she'd built into the systems triggered simultaneously. The targeting computers locked onto friendly vessels, the power distribution network overloaded non-critical systems, and the navigation array began broadcasting the ship's exact position to anyone listening. Plasma beams lanced out, striking 3 Zephyrian frigates before they could raise their shields. Secondary explosions rippled through their hulls as Sarah's sabotage revealed another surprise. She'd been quietly sharing technical specifications of Zephyrian shield frequencies with the Terran convoy during her routine communications. The escort ships, suddenly armed with perfect targeting data, opened fire with surgical precision. "What have you done?" Zektar roared, staggering toward her position. "What I was trained to do," Sarah replied, her consciousness fully merged with the ship's weapon systems. "I was never just a starship captain, Commander. I was a systems infiltration specialist. Your biggest mistake was giving me access to your neural interfaces." The Vexthara shuddered as return fire struck its hull. Sarah had disabled the stealth generators and weakened the shield harmonics. The ship was visible and vulnerable for the first time in its operational history. "Impossible! The neural crown has safeguards." "Against Zephyrian neural patterns, yes." Sarah's voice carried over the ship's communication system as she activated the internal speakers. "But human brains operate on different quantum frequencies. Your safeguards were useless against me from the moment you connected me to your systems." Around them, Zephyrian crew members collapsed as Sarah began cycling the artificial gravity and atmospheric controls. Not enough to kill, but sufficient to incapacitate. She had no desire for unnecessary slaughter. That would make her no better than them. "The human convoy is withdrawing to safe distance," she announced. "I've transmitted your ship's technical specifications to Terran Command. Your technological advantages are now null and void." Zektar fell to his knees, his strength finally failing. "You were just a prisoner." Sarah stood slowly, the neural crown still active, her consciousness spread throughout the ship like a digital ghost. Through the sensors, she watched the convoy jump to hyperspace, carrying thousands of refugees to safety. "I was never just a prisoner," she said quietly. "I was bait, and you took it perfectly." The irony wasn't lost on her. The Zephyrians had given her the greatest weapon in their arsenal by underestimating human ingenuity and adaptability. They had expected a broken captive and instead created their own downfall. As Terran reinforcements arrived to secure the disabled Zephyrian vessels, Sarah finally allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Her crew was avenged. The refugees were safe, and the galaxy would soon know that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their absolute refusal to give up, no matter the odds, even when they were just prisoners on an enemy warship.